In the battle for economic survival, we have the faithful, we have the fearful, and we have those who fall into the traps of the predators. In Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast or Slow, he talks about the irrational thinking that people engage in when they're investing and a lot of the traps they fall into by using shortcuts that don't work. Some are easily influenced by market forces and other things that may be harmful and may fall into the traps of the predators. Others are less susceptible to these things. So how can we be more like the former and less like the latter? So in this video we'll be getting into that. But before that, my name's Joe Franklin, and here at the Mustard Seed we like to put faith with finance. We care more about what the Word says than anything else. But today we're going to be talking about how to be faithful rather than fearful, and how not to fall into the traps of these predators. So let's get right into that. The Chinese word for crisis also means opportunity. So there are those that use a crisis as an opportunity to profit from things like wars and panics when things get really cheap, while others sell at the bottom and they lose, they fall victim to this. And of course, Warren Buffett is fond of saying that you don't need a high IQ to do really well in the markets, you just need the right temperament. Unfortunately, some of us are overly susceptible to manipulation. We live in this lizard brain, and it makes us bad investors, but also causes us to fall victim in other areas of life. A lot of us may use logic in making decisions, and some of us may use our gut in making decisions. Unfortunately, using our gut in making decisions for investing that's based on fight or flight doesn't work near as well as something that's more logical. Now, others of us can use our gut and train ourselves with these mental shortcuts so that our gut gets us to be thinking in the right way. And as Stanley Druckenmiller likes to say, he wants to invest and then investigate. He has learned that if he takes too long in making a decision, he may miss out on a great opportunity. And so when he invests and then investigates, he's able to get in at the right time before things move up too much. And so we want to learn how to train ourselves to make good decisions through the right mental shortcuts and have these things planned out well in advance so that our gut works in our favor, not against us. Some of us may feel really bad when others are winning and we're losing. Some of us may not mind losing when other people are losing, and they'd rather do that than go against the herd and win when other people are losing. And Warren Buffett likes to say we want to be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy, because it's often the herd that's exactly wrong at the tops and the bottoms. We want to learn when to go against the crowd at the tops and the bottoms so we can make maximum profits. All too often, people look at what's happened recently and they think since this happened recently in the past, it's going to happen again. But if a plane has just crashed, they're going to be upping all their security measures so that we don't have another plane crash again. What's most recently happened is about the least likely thing to happen again just after the fact. And so we don't want to watch for these things. We want to watch for those black swans that we're not expecting, the things that nobody's thinking about and nobody's talking about, rather than the things that everybody's worried about. Those things are much less likely to happen. These days, we want to be looking at what we know to be true. We don't want to fall victim to these predators who use our base instincts against us. So Michael Flynn, the former Director of National Intelligence in the Obama administration, he wrote the book, Fifth Generation Warfare. And in his book, he's talking about a lot of the ways that our enemies are using our base instincts against us. So we want to be thinking about how we can protect ourselves from these predators on a world stage, and what can we do to be more like the faithful than the fearful and those who fall victim to the predators. And of course, we don't want to be an accomplice, which we'll get into that also.
Unfortunately, we've got a lot of people that just want to sit on the sidelines. They just want to survive to fight another day, or actually they don't really want to fight. We see people that are afraid of getting canceled. We see people that are afraid of losing their jobs. I like this quote from this one Lutheran minister in Germany who wrote They came first for the communists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Catholics, and I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. And then they came for me, and by that time, no one was left to speak up. These thoughts are the same now as they were then. A lot of people are afraid to speak up. A lot of people are afraid to do something. A lot of people have lost bank accounts. A lot of people are no longer able to transact in many different instances because they belong to a certain group that this other group doesn't like. Now, hopefully this is going to go away and has gone away, and people are finding other ways to combat this. We need to be able to all speak our minds, all be able to defend ourselves, all be able to communicate effectively and have arguments. We can't defend our thoughts if all we do is call people names and look to fight. We are not thinking through things effectively. And we want to find out the truth. We want to find out the things that make sense instead of just believing something that somebody tells us on some tube. Now, if somebody tells us everything we're going to believe, where does that end? We're not going to be a healthy society if we just do everything that somebody tells us to do. We have freedom. God gave us these freedoms. We're free to do the things that hurt us or do the things that help us. If we lose these freedoms, then we're just resigned to doing things that are likely going to hurt us for somebody else's benefit. When we have freedoms, we are stronger. We're able to express our beliefs. And that's why I look for lots of opinions all over the place. I look for opinions in Indian news. I look for opinions on BBC. I look for opinions from Al Jazeera. I look for opinions from Australia. If you look at lots of other opinions, then you can form a well thought out, well educated opinion. And of course, in the markets, if you have a good opinion, then you can position yourself where you can profit from that. If you don't have a good, well thought out process as to where things are going, and you're wrong, you don't profit as much. And so you've got to be able to change your mind quickly when you realize that you're wrong. And so in the markets, you can do this, and you're trained to do this. But other people who can't do this are doomed to fail. They stick with their failures, and they keep losing and losing and losing because they're afraid to admit that they're wrong. But those who can admit that they're wrong and change their thinking, those people come out ahead a lot more so than those who can't change their thinking. But of course, if you have the right thought on the front end and stick with that thesis, then you can come out way ahead. Unfortunately, our enemies have accomplices. And these accomplices are set up to benefit from the enemy winning. And they get paid very handsomely for being accomplices. They get more power from being accomplices. We can look back all the way to ancient Babylonian times. What the Babylonians did is they conquered their enemies, and they took the best and the brightest of their enemies into the country to serve in the Babylonian courts. And when they took the best and brightest, they established new names for these people. And with new names and being indoctrinated into the new culture, they're promoting the new kingdom, which was Babylon in this case. Now they're doing this again now into America today. They're indoctrinating our children to become unwilling accomplices, and they don't even know what they're doing. And in many cases, they're falling into the hands of the enemy to weaken our country instead of making our country even stronger. And our politicians are doing the same thing. Now, a lot of our politicians are bought and paid for, unfortunately. They care more about getting elected than they do about our country. And a lot of these politicians, maybe they should be wearing stickers of all the different things that they're supporting and all the people that have bought and paid for them so that they'll vote the way they want them to. And so these politicians, unfortunately, they're spending and spending and spending to benefit those people who help get them elected, not necessarily benefit our country, but benefit the special interests. We should instead have our politicians looking to vote in things that benefit our people, not the special interests, and not other countries. A lot of these politicians may get paid by these other countries in one form or fashion. Unfortunately, they may find ways to have these other countries support them getting elected, and it's happening on both sides. It's happening on the right, and it's happening on the left. It doesn't matter what side you're on. They have good people on both sides who can get them what they want, but unfortunately, it's not always what America needs. Many people choose to fight an enemy only to find out they're not fighting against the true enemy. A lot of times they're fighting against the very people that want to help them and save them from themselves, rather than the people that are trying to incite them to do things that may harm themselves for the enemy's benefit. If you're always going to listen to people who tell you what you want to hear, then you're never going to hear what you need to hear. If you just want people to tickle your ears, then you're going to continue to fall victim to those who are selling you on a narrative and things they want you to do so they can benefit. And usually it's not you that's benefiting in the long run, it's them that's benefiting in the long run.
Our true enemy has yet to reveal himself.
The true enemy wants to incite civil war, wants to cause division among families, cause division within the nation. The true enemy looks fair, may be very pretty, and may tell us exactly what we want to hear, but in the end, he's there to pick up the pieces when things fall apart. The one that's working in our favor may not be so pretty, he may not look so fair, but he's there to tell us what we need to hear and do what needs to be done to help get us where we want to be. We may not like it at the time, but it's not always what we like that gets us where we want to be. We don't always get what we want. We get what we need. If we do what's easy all the time, it doesn't usually get us anywhere. What may be difficult in the short run, a lot of times we get a lot further in the long run. When we think about fighting, a lot of times we're thinking about what we're fighting against. When we fight against tyrants, a lot of times we just set up the stage for a new, worse tyrant to take his place. But when we think about what we're fighting for something like truth, then things work out in our favor. So we can embody someone like William Wallace. He wasn't fighting just against tyranny, he was fighting for freedom. And his dying words were freedom. And of course, the Scottish won their independence and they won their freedom. Our enemies seek to silence, cancel, and even kill those people with articulate voices that can sway people to their point of view. King Longshanks was saying that the people follow the shepherd. All the other people that are fighting against the Britons were just sheep, mere sheep, but it was the shepherd that they wanted to kill. And of course, he was able to kill the shepherd in William Wallace, but William Wallace inspired his people even after he passed away. The message was carried on by the true King of Scotland, Robert the Bruce, and they won their freedom, and they established a new kingdom. We want to think about what we would want to fight for, and maybe even die for. Do we want to be the enemy? Do we want to side with the enemy? Do we want to be accomplices? Or do we want to be the fearful and do nothing? Or do we want to be the faithful and do something and help get us to where we want to be? We want to be careful not to be counted among the fearful due to inaction. No choice is still a choice. We're neither hot nor cold. We're lukewarm. And when something is lukewarm, what do we do with it? We spit it out. We don't want things that are lukewarm. We want something that's either hot or we want it cold. You're choosing to side with the enemy or you're choosing to side with the righteous and the faithful. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend themselves from wolves. So one must therefore be like a fox and be discerning to recognize traps, but also be like a lion to frighten the wolves. We are already victorious like the lion by being obedient to his will, and we want to follow him rather than following the designs of the enemy. So Scripture tells us that we put him first, seeking his kingdom and his righteousness, that he will take care of all the other things. The Scripture also says, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to you. We can always find differences if we look hard enough. Why not seek instead to find the things that we can celebrate together? Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream that we would all be judged by our ideas and our character rather than the color of our skin. And with God's help, we can all work together to lift our country as a shining city on the hill once again. Since you love this video, please click on this video here. I think you'll like this one. Also, put those thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We'll catch up with you next time.